What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 700 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast hot tags of the week. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And Robert E. Felice.
700 is too many, Tony.
It is. It's way too many. I don't even know how many videos technically we have, because we do more than one episode a week, so it's like I always do the whole like it's episode number whatever, but it's actually week number. Let's see, how many videos do we have up on this YouTube channel? Seems like we probably would be like triple that or something. We're at 3.2 thousand videos. That's good enough. All right, see you later, everybody. We've done enough. Obviously, we're going to break down the things we feel like talking about that happened in the world of pro wrestling over the past few days that are on the TV recap and gossip and news and rumors and scuttlebutt and scoops and everything else like that, as we normally do. And as we normally always say to you, we want to know what you have to say about these things. So make sure that you leave your comments below on YouTube. Make sure that if you are on YouTube, that you hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribed. Ring that notification bell for your email alerts when we go live for certain things. Like we recently had done an impromptu live thing for the Darkcast. We had done the live fantasy league draft. And, you know, certain times when you don't have those email alerts set up, you might just be like, oh, I didn't even know that they went live for that. Well, that's kind of the whole point of the whole thing. So make sure that you do that. If you want to help us out on the monetary side of things, the super chats are there on the live thing. The thanks button is when you are listening when it's not live. The join button is the same as the Patreon, but both are going to give you access to the Darkcast tier, the Pick Your Poison tier, all the other kind of things that we have going on there. Redbubble and TeePublic is breaking pick up your merchandise. Keep in mind as well that you can chat it up in the Discord server, and that eventually we're going to sort out a tier on the YouTube channel membership and the Patreon for adding the Discord element of that, where you can join in on the podcast and like basically have a call-in function, kind of the way that we did in Blog Talk Radio a little bit, but something that'll be reserved for special members and for people that are on the paid tiers and different things like that. As mentioned before, we've done a couple other episodes this week, so go back and check out things like the Fantasy League Draft to find out who we have on our teams for this year's season, at least for right now, until we start trading people out and everything. Also, go back and check out the Fantasy Booking WrestleMania 42 that I had done, which almost immediately was negated in at least some fashion when it came to the Sami Zayn thing, where I was like, keep them away from each other, and then the very next night they start a feud. So that ain't happening. But that's all stuff for you to go back and check out. Right now, we're on the hot tags. So, as per usual, we've got a wide variety of different topics to talk about. So, we're going to bounce around here. We're even going to discover some random topics as we go along. If there are any breaking news, we'll address that here. And if it happens after the fact, then we'll roll that into next week's hot tags, unless it's something absolutely huge and it needs to have some kind of impromptu small package or something like that, which I haven't done in a while, but you know what I mean. We could go in almost any direction here and then have things that spin off of this. I think that one thing to talk about, though, is I'm just going to address what I currently have as the thumbnail. Maybe I'll change the thumbnail. Is this whole Liv Morgan taking time off to film a, quote, major movie role that blew up over the past few days, and then very quickly, once people realized what it was, became like a non-talking point. The tag team titles for the women's division are going to be just on Liv and Raquel. They are not going to take the titles off of them, because why would they? They don't really care. And technically, you could make the argument that if it's that whole 30-day, you have to defend the title in that kind of time frame thing. Well, they just won the titles, so they won them and then they defended them on NXT. If you want to go with like a kayfabe excuse for that, then that's what it is. But everybody was going, she's going to be the next Harley Quinn. She's going to be in, I saw people being like, she was cast as Black Cat in the new Spider-Man movie, which we don't even know if Black Cat's a character. And all this wild speculation, damn near short of she's Doctor Doom. You know what I mean? And I just had this feeling that, you know, she's not going to get in some kind of a superhero thing. It's going to be something else. And lo and behold, Bad Lieutenant Tokyo is the movie. So I've seen discourse of 3 reactions mostly about this. One being, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Can't wait to see her in this movie. The people that are involved are so great, and she's going to kill it. I don't know too much about the different people running the movie. Shun Aguri, Lily James, they're the 2 main characters, or the 2 main actors in this. I've seen Lily James in a couple different things, and Shun Aguri, I believe, was in one of the Godzilla movies. I'm hoping that it was the most recent Godzilla that was good. But Liv Morgan is playing the daughter of a politician that gets kidnapped. And that seems to be pretty much all the information I can find. The director, Takashi, I don't know if it's Miike is how you would pronounce it, Miike. He has done movies primarily not in the United States, so like I've never really seen any of his work. But some people going absolutely nuts, being like, this is going to be amazing. And then a lot of other people going, oh, well, now I'm pissed because I thought that she was going to be some kind of a major mainstream American movie thing or whatever. Oh, he was in Godzilla vs. Kong. Okay, so that's not the one that was this good. All right, well, the more I find out about this movie, the less I'm interested in it, to be honest. And I've not even seen the other Bad Lieutenant films either. I don't think I'm going to be watching it. What about you guys?
Oh, well, as far as whether or not I'll be watching it, I think if I can find a way, I'm sure I'll watch it. The thing about this film that has me slightly optimistic for her career is it's a neon film. They did Nora, which blew everything away last award season. They do those kinds of films, and this could be a big boost to her career, but it's not something that's screaming at you and jumping off the page that she's going to be a major star now. It could happen, and it's cool for her, but I don't see this being the groundbreaking, your jaws are going to hit the floor when you realize what she's doing, which, in fairness, might have just been some overhype on some of the reports. I mean, I understand that there's a subsection of people who are going to think that no matter what for Morgan, but I also think, maybe don't raise expectations in that way. I think it's fine. Like, it's cool for her, I'll watch it. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's good for her career.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a movie, so I'm not going to watch it, probably. So that's my usual approach to pretty much anything. And yeah, I think it was just a case of that one report that got leaked about saying that this is a major movie for her, and then everyone just decided to run with it and cast speculation, which, once you start doing that, you're inevitably going to be disappointed with what the final outcome is going to be, unless it is
Right.
something that is absolutely just out of this world. But I mean, let's face it, she's got no acting experience, no serious acting experience, so it's unlikely she was going to get cast in as prominent a role as like a Black Cat, if there is her in the Spider-Man movie, or something else in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, unless it was, in a fairly minor role. So at least with this one, it seems like she's going to have somewhat of a prominent role to play if she's playing like the daughter of the kind of the kidnapped victim in the movie. So yeah, hopefully it does work out for her, and it's a good opportunity to showcase her range more effectively than if she was just pretty much a glamorous extra in a more blockbuster movie.
Yeah, she could be great in it, for all we know. Like, she got cast for a reason, and whether that's because she knows somebody or because she just had a random audition and killed it, you never really know. And it's great for her to be able to do this kind of a thing. Like, I don't want anybody to misconstrue the idea about it's not as big of a deal as being no, it's still a great chance for her to branch out and do some interesting stuff and probably have a lot of fun and all. But it is just one of those things that you build a lot of hype for something and then it kind of comes crashing down. And
again, I think that a lot of that, especially as you run through some of the other Neon films, stems from it being a Neon film. They did Parasite, they did Monkey Man, the re-release of Moon Age Daydream, Long Legs, which I think you saw, Tony.
Yeah, that was another movie that was hyped up as being like, this is the next great classic horror film, and I was like, this fucking blows. I was not digging it.
They did I, Tonya, so like they have
Tanya's good. Parasite's great.
A decent catalog, and I think that's the excitement. The excitement is that it's a Neon film.
Yeah. And I mean, like, Lily James is a name, it's not like it's like a complete unknown for the main lead.
Having not actually watched it, but just doing a little bit of just like casual reading about the two Bad Lieutenant films, which aren't connected to each other.
Yeah.
Beyond the name Bad Lieutenant, is they seem to be quite gritty, NC-17 rated films. That's quite an interesting aspect of it as well, being like, again, she doesn't have to represent the kind of polished, more family-friendly nature of WWE, although they seem pretty happy with saying the word fuck on TV now quite often. But I think that it is quite interesting to see how she fits into that dynamic. To be fair, her character is kind of a lot on the edgier side of things in WWE these days anyway, so maybe it's a more natural fit.
What do you guys think the odds are that she does that laugh in the movie?
What are the odds that she has a fight sequence in the movie?
And then does some kind of a wrestling move? It's like,
they'll find some way that she can do Oblivion.
Or that typical thing where it's like, do a Hurricane Rana.
Yeah,
that's realistic.
Yeah. See, I'm more in the vein of she might fight the kidnapper, get a Hurricane Rana in there, maybe. But I think a 0 chance for the laugh.
I'm kind of picturing that she's going to be like a party girl that gets kidnapped over in Tokyo, and then at the beginning of the movie, she'll be with a bunch of friends, and she'll do that laugh and, whatever. And when it comes out, if it ends up getting some good buzz, then maybe I'll end up checking it out. But I am not holding my breath that I necessarily will. And at least on the topic of things that I am not holding my breath that I would ever really watch, but there's more of a chance that I would watch the Liv Morgan movie than this thing. American Freestyle Wrestling.
Real American Freestyle Wrestling.
Real American Freestyle Wrestling.
As opposed to the fake American Freestyle Wrestling.
Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff do this NWO style thing, which is cringy as all hell because it is just not the same. And it's all, you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. And it's like, yeah, neither of you are Scott Hall. And the third man, who's the third man? People are like, is this Vince? Is this whatever? It's some freestyle wrestling thing.
Can you imagine? Okay, look, some people I just don't feel bad for. If you think for a second that this is leading to some reveal with Vince McMahon, that's kind of on you. At best, I thought, oh fuck, third man's gonna be Conrad. There's gonna be a fucking podcast. That's where my brain was going. But
you were giving them even more credit than I was. I was like, are they gonna announce some partnership with a local juice place or fucking lemonade stand? That's like, this isn't gonna be fucking anything at all. It's gonna be, hey everybody, the three of us are partnering up and you can get 20% off Blue Chew. I was like, there's no fucking way this is gonna be something worthwhile.
Your Real American meme coin or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, some kind of bullshit like that where it's only a third of this fucking country that's stupid enough to pay for it.
But this is fine. This will fizzle out quicker than, Hulk Hogan's frozen sandwiches he was selling back in the 2000s.
I don't think I saw that one. What was that?
There, you know how like some people will buy like the Tyson chicken patties, the frozen things that you would eat in like a school lunch. Yeah, there was a Hulk Hogan branded version of that.
Why the fuck do these people think just slapping Hulk Hogan's name on something is going to matter after the vast majority of these things have not worked out? Like, sure, out of curiosity, if I would have been around at the time to do it, I would have tried Pastamania, but I would have tried it knowing it's a waste of my money.
Well, okay, you get two people. You get the people who go, yeah, maybe if I'm, like you just said, if I'm in the area, I might try Pastamania. And then you get the people who legitimately think, especially now, the people who are running these things, go, well, it's Hulk Hogan. He's like the biggest star in the world. Not realizing that was the peak of that and the absolute end of that was at best 20 years ago with the Hogan Knows Best reality show and stuff. And like now if you do anything with Hogan, it just screams, what it screams because of what he's been doing lately. And it just, I don't know. I don't see this being anything major. He wants to be competitive with the UFC. I don't see that happening anywhere. But I guess, who knows?
I'm very curious if anybody is actually going to watch this.
I'm sure certain people will carve out some time for it, but yeah, I mean, from just my perspective, it's like two of the most odious men in professional wrestling.
Great word.
Combining for one more failed attempt at trying to regain relevancy. And yeah, this will almost certainly fall flat, but at least it'll get some eyes early on. I mean, I don't even know what it's in it, even like be or what the presentation of it is going to be, and quite frankly I have no interest in checking it out to find out anyway. So
even if it wasn't Hogan and Bischoff, I don't watch that type of wrestling anyway, but I would assume that the people that I don't know anybody that does either, but I would assume the people that wouldn't want those two involved.
Yeah, that's the weird thing to me is like, oh, if this is like wrestling like collegiate, a step to go up from being a collegiate wrestler, these people hate you.
Mm-hmm.
They hate you. Like the ones that are serious hate you. The only ones that might not are the ones who maybe got into collegiate wrestling hoping it could someday propel them into the UFC or the WWE. But like, you talk to a real wrestler, oh, they hate professional wrestling.
Yeah, because it's like, well, that's that fake shit. I don't do that. I do real wrestling. I'm an Olympic type of wrestler. And there's Tyron A. Steels, there's Chad Gables and Kurt Angles and all these other types that, Shelton Benjamin, like people that have done amateur wrestling that get into pro wrestling. But I mean, it's so one of three things. It's either you are into all wrestling, you are into, which then at that point you have to want to take on more wrestling and more amateur wrestling and like Hogan and Bischoff. So it's a lot of asks. Or you're into just amateur, which no, I'm not going to be interested in that. Or you are not into any of that stuff. So it's like, I'm thinking that this is going to have about the same legs as that wrestling entertainment series or tons of other promotions that like everybody and their fucking mother thinks that they can create a promotion nowadays, and how many of them are actually succeeding? You gotta keep that in mind. But they'll take some money from this dude that's investing in it or whatever, and then they'll move on to their next scam. It's Ponzi schemes just kind of renew themselves, and they put a different mask on. So two projects that I'm not anticipating watching whatsoever. I, of course, will be watching new pay-per-views that we've got going forward, which one of those is that Crown Jewel is going to be on October 11th, and it is happening in Perth instead of Saudi Arabia, which is interesting because that was something that was a talking point that I was thinking of a little while ago when there was the whole report about like that they weren't going to be in Saudi much this year. And if they were going to do some other show later on in the year and it was going to be titled something different, I was like, all right, well, then that means that Crown Jewel, this annual event, is going to happen once, and then they're not going to do it anymore. Well, now we have our answer. It just means that they're going to make Crown Jewel not a Saudi-specific pay-per-view anymore. It's kind of the same as what they did with Super Showdown, because that was originally a Saudi show, and then it was like, okay, now it could be Australia.
But the giant belts, the most important, significant, crown jewel belts, they're in the thing in Saudi. They have to go back and get the belts.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I wonder what they're gonna do on that front. Yeah, maybe they're gonna create whole new belts.
No, they're just gonna keep them over there. They're just on display in the fucking museum in Saudi. Or whatever the WWE experience or whatever that is. Now this is cool. Like, I think Crown Jewel's a great name. I think it's a great spot to do the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments. And, it's Cena's last show in Australia. How do they get him in the ring with Rhea Ripley? What kind of mixed tag scenario can we create that he's in the ring with arguably one of the biggest stars in the company today?
Rhea and
Priest.
I mean, Terror Twins would make the most sense. Against, I guess, Cena and the thing that would get the most heat would be her against Charlotte again, because Cena and Charlotte teaming up would be like a whole big thing. But
or Becky or something. Like,
yeah.
you can do it. You can find a way. But that's what I would do personally. Find a way to put him in the ring with Rhea. Get Rhea to slam him too. Like, make some memories.
Have Rhea beat him for the title. Not my actual preference. I'm joking, everybody.
That would get such a reaction though. Like, people love Rhea Ripley, as they should.
Let's see. I don't know if there's anything I can necessarily trade this one topic to the next without any kind of other transition. So let's just go with another random one here. Let's go with trademarks. Here's a couple different trademark things that happened over the past few days. One of them was that WWE had let the Edge trademark kind of lapse, and it was very, very quick. It was one of those things where I guess they just didn't realize that was going to be the case, and then as soon as it became obvious that they had let that lapse, they just filed the papers and they're re-upping it. I, for a moment there, was like, oh, they're letting it go because they're just finally like, what's the point in paying for this when he can go take that elsewhere and it's not going to hurt us whatsoever? No, never mind. And I don't blame them for it. It is a WWE creation thing, so we've talked about that before, but it kind of baffles me that a company that has as many resources as they do and make as much money as they do not only feels the need to fire a bunch more people, which we will talk about in a moment, but also can't fucking keep this stuff ready to go when it's like, all you gotta do is set an email alert or like go to fucking Google Calendar and type out, hey, I just made this trademark and it expires on whatever. Like, I know that my Google Workspaces stuff changes on January 16th, 2026. And I know that, like, if I had things that were like major copyright trademark stuff and employees that could keep track of things and all that would just be a very easy thing to keep track of, and yet they still run into that problem. But then again, we're talking about a company as well that has updates on the website that they never do, and whatever. But anybody that was thinking that the Edge trademark was going to go over to AEW, it's not going to be the case anymore. And
I like the idea that the other people realized it so fast that they were like, shit. He will apply for that Edge trademark real quick. Like, and they revived it almost immediately after it was reported. So that's very funny to me. Yeah, I would have liked to see him be Edge and do the mental gymnastics that would have to get around to him being Edge again. But it is what it is. He's coping. We're all coping.
He just had said, by the way, if we're talking about Cope, that after a match, it takes him a week to walk right.
Did he really?
Yeah.
For reference, I'm very much at this point in time, if I'm not actively on and working it, I don't know some of these stories. But that's crazy. That's not good. That's like part of why he stopped wrestling in the first place.
There's also trademarks for Tala, Jintala, and Jamar Hampton, which we can assume are going to be ring names for people just because it's pretty obvious that wouldn't be like, pay-per-view name or something. And then Adrenaline Drip. And I could only assume that has something to do with Seth Rollins.
Really? Adrenaline doesn't immediately make you go, well, that's Cody Rhodes.
The drip part of it makes me think Adrenaline Drip might be the tag team name of Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins.
Are you insane?
Braun's the adrenaline and Rollins is the drip.
Okay. You made that make sense too quickly. I don't like it.
You go from "Are you insane?" to "Well, fuck."
I mean, I don't think that's the case because I just don't think they're going to be considered a tag team. You give them a name like that, and then they're a tag team. Whereas, like, the clear idea is that Rollins is the main event guy and Braun's the up and coming guy underneath him. Like, they're not going to win the tag title.
Oh no, they're definitely not. But I mean, like, this is more like a nickname of the group, sort of, in my mind. And
also, Rollins, it's clearly the Vision. Rollins must have hammered that home on Monday like 20 times, but I still don't like how fast you made Adrenaline Drip try to work.
I just think it's like a bit of a dumb name for a group that you're trying to push as like the top act in the company.
Oh, me too. I think it's dumb as hell.
Well, that's why I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be some just kind of clothing line that they come out with.
That could be that, yeah. I mean, they tried to do some weird things with some trademarks recently. Like, remember the whole thing with Damian Priest gets called Street Trash and then gets taken out of the group, and then the Judgment Day are wearing t-shirts that say Street Trash for some reason, because it's like, well, that doesn't apply to Finn Balor, but sure, he's Mr. Street Trash now or something. So they could very easily be like, get your new Adrenaline Drip by buying this different fucking hoodie or whatever it might be. And there's no telling right now who Tala and Jamar Hampton are, for anybody that's curious about that. Like, I'm pretty close to, like, I think I have everybody that has a trademark name sorted out on my, like, roster page and heel and face turn list and all the other kind of things. The index page, not the heel and face turn list. We still don't know whatever happened with Tala Tonga, but that could still just be Hikuleo. But, like, say Tala. I would assume that Tala is not going to be the name of somebody like, I don't know, like renaming Grayson Waller. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be mostly somebody from NXT, and it's probably going to be somebody that would fit the name. So, Ricky Smokes is not going to be Jamar Hampton. Jamar Hampton is probably going to be one of the...
Britt Baker. Obviously, Britt Baker's name. Britt Baker. Obviously.
Jamar Hampton. I mean, when you look at Dr. Britt Baker, you think, yeah, that's Jamar.
Jamar.
A lot of these people that are in the Evolve and NXT and LFG and all this, they actually, like, their names seem kind of locked already. Like, Shiloh Hill is already Shiloh Hill. And BJ Ray, I'm assuming, is going to continue to be BJ Ray, et cetera, et cetera. But I could see them renaming some people, which they've done in the past. Just because it doesn't make any sense doesn't mean that they don't do it. And a guy like an Anthony Luke is like, here's this dude on LFG. We'll say his name a million times, then they'll show him up on NXT and it'll be like, well, that's Jamar Hampton. And it's like, all right, well, come on, he's fucking Anthony Luke. You already showed us him 12 goddamn episodes of a TV show. But I find it really hard to keep track of a lot of the people that are in that system at this point, because they are making it way more difficult than it needs to be. And they're shifting people around. Like it seems like now Nikita Lyons is going to go into Evolve. So if you are in the developmental brand and you're not working out, they're going to send you to sub-developmental. And that's where your Jamar Hamptons and stuff could be coming from.
That. I see zero issue with saying, hey, Nikita, go to Evolve.
I think it's a good move in the sense of, like, if they're not good enough for NXT right now, put them on the show that less people watch and they can get a little bit more licks in. And yeah, it's basically like level up in some ways. So I would rather see, even though she's only wrestled like 3 matches, I'd rather see Bailey Humphrey in NXT than Nikita Lyons at this point. You know, I'd rather see Penina Twidlepa or
what?
I mean,
Who's that?
You don't watch LFG?
No, I don't. But I have no idea what you just said.
Penina Twidlepa is one of the women in NXT that's in the Evolve, the LFG side of things, and she seems pretty good. P Nasty is the nickname that she goes by, and she's I believe Samoan. I don't remember for sure. I don't think that she's not related to the Anawais at the very least. She might not necessarily be Samoan. She might be some other ethnicity or something, but she's pretty good. Bailey Humphrey's pretty good. You know, there's a lot of people that they can bring up on the main roster and all. And if you got people like a Nikita Lyons that can move down and fill that role, then sure, go ahead and do that. But there are a lot of people that are
Samoan. I'm looking at her now. She's Samoan completely.
Okay.
The only thing I got out of that is that P Nasty sounds like a different name for a urinary infection.
I mean, that could be her finisher.
Sorry, what? The urinary infection is her finisher?
Yeah. I can just picture that, you know, that she grabs in a certain angle, you know. There is way too many things that we could take this in a different direction. So I'll go back to the other one and say a guy like a Chris Island, they could keep his name, they could change his name. The same with, you know, it's Gal or whatever. These people in Evolve and LFG and even in NXT, they can change their names almost at will. So we don't know who Tala and Jamar Hampton are, and we don't know what Adrenaline Drip is going to work with, but the names sound fine enough to me. They're names. That's the boring, bland ass, here's a person thing that we've been getting. Like, there's nothing different between Jamar Hampton to me and Cutler James. They're just generic fucking names. Nobody's fun anymore. Nobody's, you know, Kane or like
Kane also isn't
Duke the
fun
Dumpster
anymore.
Drosy or something. Like, you know, nobody's fun. They're just Aaron Rourke. There's an Aaron Rourke and there's an Aaron Roberts. It's like, okay.
I think the easiest explanation here is they just started Chase U again. Chase U is where the generic name people go, and I think we could see Tala and Jamar Hampton be Chase U students.
The only Chase U students we know for a fact are Uriah Connors, Kel Dixon, and then I believe it was Chaz.
Chad? Fuck Chad.
Chad? Yeah, fuck Chad. Whoever that guy was. I just brought him up just to be like, you know, fuck off, dude. Yeah, Chase University back exactly the way that it was before, just with not the same people anymore. Because then you take a guy like a Riley Osborne and you're like, hey, we've spent a while building you up and trying to make you a big part of this whole thing. Can you just go right back down to Evolve? Just be a part of that now. And we'll come back around to this topic in a little bit, but keep an eye out for Tala and Jamar Hampton in the future. Also, Wardlow, you guys turned me on to this before we got started and we were talking about some topics. Wardlow trademarked his own name.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a sign in the future that he is just going to be Wardlow going forward, or
that is his name. I'm surprised his name is Michael Wardlow. Like, that's just his name.
Yeah, but I guess just to be sure, you got to trademark it because WWE has trademarked real names before, like John Cena.
That's true.
You guys think that that's any indication of him leaving AEW, or do you think that that's more so just him like covering his bases?
I don't know if he'll. I don't know when his contract is up, so I don't know if he can leave. But it's definitely at least a smart move for his future, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I think that regardless of name change, whatever, like I thought the writing's kind of on the wall for him anyway. It's not like he's missed at the moment, so I don't really see a considerable future for him in the company anyway. So it might be for the best for him that he has that name attached to him, so he can. I'd say I don't think even like AEW would like begrudge him keeping his name anyway. It's not like people that have left AEW in the past have had trouble keeping their name trademarked anyway. It's like Cody Rhodes is still Cody Rhodes. Obviously, he wouldn't have signed his name away from that, but like pretty much everybody that's gone from AEW to WWE either reverts to the name they had in WWE or keeps the name they had in AEW.
Lexus King being one of the rare examples. Ricky Saints instead of Ricky Starks. Yeah, it happens, but
yeah, well, that's WWE trying to stamp their own authority on it rather than because, like, I don't think AEW have had any issue with Ricky Starks going over and still being Ricky Starks, but WWE wants to own the name of the person. So
yeah, it's another thing to check out that in the future maybe this is something that does point towards something, or maybe it's just, hey, Wardlow was like, why don't I trademark my name? And then, you know, he does.
And then he shows up in WWE as Jamar Hampton.
He could be Tala. He could be Adrenaline Drip. God, imagine that. It's like, we got our newest signing. Welcome, everybody, to the newest, biggest superstar in WWE, Adrenaline Drip. It'd be like, oh my God, I was just talking about how people don't have fun names anymore. Don't do that. Don't make Wardlow Adrenaline Drip. Also, by the way, this is a random thing. Don't send a comment on our feedback email on Smark at Moment. Anybody that just says, I want to seek a help. Please help me. This is urgent. Please help me. Please reply. What? I just got that email. It's like,
okay.
I can't help you, whoever. So I don't know what that's for. But do send your feedback for things like when I say, hey, let us know what you want for this tournament or things like that, or, you know, whatever. Anyway, I like calling people out on their fucking weirdness. And I guess trademark stuff. Let's transition to some people leaving some places and talk about some of that stuff going forward. Nduka is done with AEW. I did not see a single one of his matches in any of that because I don't even believe that he, I think he was just Ring of Honor, right?
Well, he was on the Dark shows.
AEW Dark?
That eventually just became Ring of Honor. And yeah, I thought he was going to end up being a thing in ROH. And I guess it turns out that he chose not to stay, or maybe they chose not to keep him around. I don't know what the rift was there, but it's unfortunate because like he could have been something.
Who was it that he was teaming with? Wasn't he a tag team with somebody?
Lee Johnson. They were Lee J.
Lee J, that's right, yeah.
And now they've teamed Lee Johnson up with Blake Christian instead. So that was kind of because that's when I first saw the team appear on, I think it was like just an episode of Collision, and then just thought, oh, that's odd that they've just made Lee Johnson his tag team partner. I thought he was still doing stuff with Nduka, but clearly that's not the case, and based on the reports, not going to be for the considerable future. I think you kind of have to point to, like, EJ Nduka has a great look and physique, and he's really tall, and so he has all of the aesthetic attributes necessary to be a top pro wrestler, but clearly there is something missing in terms of his ring work. I know he only had like a few singles matches in Ring of Honor, and they were all pretty short squash matches for the most part. So they were trying to position him, but I guess there wasn't like the potential there that they saw, or not enough to merit giving him that run. And I assume teaming him with Lee Johnson was an opportunity to try and do that, you know, small technical, better wrestler guy with the big enforcer type alongside him. And again, that just seemingly hasn't worked out. So So yeah, I don't really know what the future kind of holds for him. He's obviously was previously in NXT and WWE developmental, and that didn't work out. And now he's been through AEW and Ring of Honor, and that hasn't worked out either. He's 36 years old now. I know he does a lot of like physio, not physio, but like he's trained a lot with the other AEW wrestlers and some WWE wrestlers in terms of like helping them with their rehabilitation and like bodybuilding and stuff like that. So I think he's like seems to have connections with a lot of wrestlers through that as well. So maybe that'll give him some opportunities on the independent circuit. But you would imagine that at this stage in his life and career, that like his ceiling is going to be somewhat limited to probably like a peak at TNA at that sort of level.
You never say never. I mean, if he can get back to WWE if he wants to. No, he had some feelings about when he was released, but if he wants to, Damian Priest is a good example for somebody more up there in age making a big splash for themselves.
But Damian Priest was actively working in Ring of Honor at the time.
That is true.
It's not like Priest had been released by a lower tier, well, in the eyes of any lower tier company, and then signed by a bigger one. It's like it seems to just be he's always hit a ceiling in the bigger companies, so he'd probably need to stay slightly lower if he wants to rise back up at some point. But I say like, it's not out of the question for that to happen, but you know, he needs to find a destination or find a consistent amount of appearances to demonstrate to one of the bigger promotions that he can be a sustainable commodity for them.
Maybe that's MLW, maybe that's TNA, whatever it might be. I haven't been following his career, so I don't know if he's like a good fit for like a New Japan or something, but it's not great to be like, you're in developmental in WWE, you go over to AEW, you're just in the Ring of Honor, you're there not really fully doing a whole lot of stuff, and then the next thing you know, you're leaving, and I don't know, certain times it just doesn't work out, and maybe his real passion is elsewhere, maybe his real talent is elsewhere, maybe it's just a fit thing, where if he goes to like an NWA, that it's like, oh my god, now he's the champion or something. You never really know. Speaking of people joining other rosters, though, Indi Hartwell is now in the Knockouts division at TNA. I think that could be a good fit. You could do something with Persia again. There's obviously a need to kind of like freshen up rosters no matter where you are, and she's not in NXT anymore. She's not in WWE anymore. So if AEW wasn't going to pick her up, yeah, sure, TNA makes sense.
Be the first to like kind of point out to the calling Steph the Lander Persia Perotta in this day and age is a little bit of a weird one, but
well, she was teaming with her when she was Persia. That's why I went with that.
No, this is more of an indication that that's how far removed you are from stuff outside of WWE, that you called her Persia, because she's done like 500 times more since leaving WWE than she ever did in the company. But I know where you were going, and yeah, that probably is where they will eventually end up. But I just think that that's funny that you called her Persia.
As soon as Dexter Lumis is released, then they can do that as well. Like, just do the whole thing.
Yeah. Again. Now he was Samuel Shaw in TNA. Yeah. So I mean,
Duke Hudson's was released a while ago, wasn't he? So.
Oh god, they're all just gonna run it back.
But well, to be fair, like Steph's already with. I guess they could do it just Steph and like.
Steph and Nance Warner.
Yeah, Nance Warner. Yeah,
Indi and Sam Shaw.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of happy with this move, mostly because it means that she's not going to AEW. So that's like a super positive thing in my book. And yeah, TNA seems to be the level that she would be operating at right now. So I guess it's probably the ideal destination for her. Means that she might end up doing stuff with WWE still in the future. Who knows?
I always think that's weird at this point, because it's like they're crossing over way more and more lately. Like Robert Stone's popping up with Alicia Fox, Victoria Crawford, whatever her name is. At this point, what is the name that she's going by now?
It's Victoria Crawford.
Just
she was going to use Vix Crow, but I think she's thought against it.
like they're popping up and like feuding with Santino, and then you got like Trick Williams and Joe Hendry, and like they are doing a lot more, and it's like that's more and more likely that somebody like an Indi will be like, you're in NXT, you're on the main roster, we're giving you the boot, but now that you're in TNA, now do you want to pop up in NXT? It's like it comes back around. It's so weird how that happens sometimes.
Yeah, I think this is a great move for her. Like, she's of that generation where if you wanted to see great women's wrestling, you either watched, and before Sasha and Bailey, like you watched the knockouts. So she's probably got that like childhood excitement towards that division. And I think it's a good place for her to continue working and get even better potentially.
And for all we know, we could see her joined by some other people because, unfortunately, as much as we've talked about this being a possibility, it is the thing that's happening right now. WWE has released some people, and the reason why this isn't like the main topic that we have going on right now with a thumbnail of a bunch of people and all that stuff is just because they haven't released any talent that we're aware of yet. There's a possibility that that's happening behind the scenes. For all we know, it's happening literally right now, and the reports aren't happening. You know, we'll address that if it ends up happening. But they did release Ryan Pappolla and some people that are on the behind the scenes side of things. And yeah, we might not know those people. You know, we might not know director of creative service, this and this kind of, you know, people, but they're people just like everybody else. So it sucks to see that they're losing their jobs, especially when the company continues to make more money. But look at that. That's where we're in right now, where nothing makes sense and the points don't matter and stuff. Wait, how's that go with whose line is it anyway? Something like where everything's made up and the points don't matter. But that is usually a sign that there are other releases coming. I think that every single time that they've done some sort of a culling, unless it's, you know, Brooks Jensen and Nico Vance and all that, I have to make the joke before it becomes obvious.
Wow, did you really go there?
Yeah, my brain was like, I could do that joke, and it's like I gotta interrupt myself to do it. Every time that they have done this like mass release thing post WrestleMania, there you go, that's when it really sucks. They have released people behind the scenes in like editing departments and advertising departments, all that other kind of shit. And then they've also released NXT talent, and they've also released main roster talent. Every single time they've done all three. So we're going to talk about some specifics, but first off, the only name that I recognized was Ryan Pappolla. It sucks to hear that he and the other people as well have been released, but Ryan Pappolla, so fucking passionate about WWE. And that's another thing that's like, God, you can't even keep the people that really, really, really fucking want to be there and probably would do any job that you would tell them to do. So I hope he bounces back the way that some of the other people have, like Mackenzie doing the ring announcing in TNA, and Matt Camp has been popping up on different places and all. I don't know what Ryan Pappolla would be interested in doing necessarily, but I mean, even when it comes to people like Josh Matthews being like a part of the AEW production team and stuff, like, you know, sometimes these people bounce around. But there are lots of people that we can be speculating about, and a lot of people are speculating about, that could be leaving the company one way or another, either by choice or just by getting released or something. And again, we always have to preface things by saying we are not saying that we are hoping that any of this happens. So if anybody's like, you know, you're putting it out there because you want them to be fired or something, no, absolutely not. It is more so just there are suspicious things happening with certain roster members, and almost always when that happens, it leads towards some releases. It is in the post-WrestleMania season, so it's something to keep an eye out about. One of them being that Metaphor broke up on the most recent episode of NXT in a way where Lash Legend was like, it's time for us to go our separate ways and stuff. And then Lash Legend tweeted out about it being like, oh, I was hoping that this was just a dream and all that. So people, of course, were like, well, it was your idea. And it's like, oh, that's the character. It's not the person, you know. Shotzi putting out something about like trying to find herself again and all this. Austin Theories posted things that got people wondering what's up. There's a lot of people posting kind of cryptic, see you later, goodbye type content lately. And as far as 4:08 p.m., no talent releases have been confirmed. But generally speaking, what do you guys think about all these that are happening right now?
Like you, the only name I really know is Pappolla, and I think it sucks. I hope he can find some work in wrestling if he chooses to continue. World of passion. So there's always room for someone like that. I'm not gonna speculate too heavy beyond the fact that Luca Crucifino is gone, are words that were said on Tuesday night. So you start to go, oh man, I really hope that that's not the end of this person's career in this company. And it is weird that a lot of people are doing the cryptic tweets because that's just not something that they do. But you do sometimes see random things like, hey, I'm Mustafa Ali, I've departed WWE, like random announcements. I'm hoping we get nothing like that. I'd like to see everybody keep their jobs, especially in this weird time that we're in. But, obviously it's something we're going to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think it's something that we approach with certainly not a hope, but just a expectation because of what's happened over the past few years, especially around this time of year. So we just have to be prepared for that eventuality. So like, I don't want anybody to lose their jobs, and frankly, I don't really watch WWE stuff, so it's not like a case of there aren't that many people that I'm super clamoring to go to AEW or some other place which I would watch more regularly anyway. So, and anyone that would be are ones that WWE would be very keen to keep it around anyway. So it wouldn't affect me one way or the other. But yeah, the Ryan Pappolla thing. So I didn't really check out much of his stuff because I don't really watch a lot of the auxiliary WWE content. But yeah, if he's like passionate as sticking around wrestling, I'm sure there'll be plenty of places that will offer him opportunities. And yeah, so we just kind of wait and see if any of these kind of cryptic posts are an indication of what's to come in the next couple of days.
Now, Mayu Iwatani has left Stardom and she's going to Marigold. We know that that's at least one talent swapping around, and not in WWE, but, in this ecosystem. And you guys are very much working under the assumption that Marigold is a little pit stop and that she's going to WWE afterward, right?
I think Marigold works under the assumption that they're a pit stop and they're going to WWE.
Yeah, I think that's like it's similar to the Julia situation where she left Stardom and then spent a couple of months in Marigold before making the move to NXT. I think we'll probably see a similar pathway for Iwatani. Like Iwatani even said in the press conference that Marigold's relationship with WWE played a factor in her decision to move. So whether that's the case of like, oh, she wants to stay in Marigold but wrestle people from WWE or go over to WWE every now and again, or she's just planning on doing this for a short period of time, have a few matches, help out her former boss in Rossy Ogawa, and then make the full-time move to WWE. It's yet to be seen, but she'll be in a WWE ring by next year, I imagine.
I'm not super familiar with her work. I've seen a few matches here and there, but do you guys think that if she does pop up in WWE, she'll go to NXT, or do you think she'll go straight to the main roster?
Absolutely NXT. I think most, if not all, of the Joshi talent have done NXT first. It's a great way to get acclimated to the system. It's it's a fun name for the brand. I think absolutely NXT.
I imagine that will probably be the case as well. I think that she probably wouldn't necessarily need it because, I mean, they wanted to sign Iwatani back when they first signed Io and Kairi to the company. Like they've wanted, or at least have had an interest in Iwatani for a long, long time. So, and maybe that's an indication that maybe she does just want to stay in Japan and doesn't have any real desire to work in America full time. So maybe that would be the one caveat to her signing with WWE, but I think that like she's in her early 30s now, so this is around about the time where you have done like a lot of your passion and your hardest work, and so you're after the bag probably more than anything. So that would be like her big like signing and the hugest amount of money that she would earn if she signed with WWE. I mean, you just have to look at what they're doing with Io Sky right now and how prominently she's been positioned. She looks like she's working harder than ever before. I think that seeing things like that is going to be a motivator to someone like Iwatani, that she will be treated and positioned correctly would she make the move over to WWE, which was in like decades past not a certainly not a guarantee for any foreign talent going over to the company. But I mean, yeah, that last big Stardom show, their All-Star Grand Queen, was a really eventful night for many reasons, because it's not just Iwatani, but they did an angle on the show where Thekla, one of the members of like the Hate stable that's been around for Stardom for about 4 or 5 years at this point, she got fired, quote unquote fired, on the show, which was her release. So she seems to be coming over to America at some point, likelihood. I think that we don't know where her destination will end up being. It might just be that she's on the indies for a while.
I'm pretty sure Sean reported that there are many that believe she's AEW bound.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely destination. But yeah, so that's an interesting one. And also Tam Nakano retired from professional wrestling as well, just completely. So yeah, she's decided to move on, because like she's not like old by any stretch of imagination, but she's like 37 now. So I think it's usually a lot of Joshi wrestlers retire earlier than male wrestlers do. So I think that's probably just an indication that she's ready to settle down or move on to whatever's next in her career life in general. So but yeah, so it's kind of like a lot of upheaval going on in Stardom right now. So it'd be interesting to see where they progress from this point.
Also, Meiko Satomura wrestled her retirement match recently, so it's another, roster shift in some way, even though she hasn't been used really since NXT UK. But I forgot about this one. Oh, I should have mentioned this when I was saying about the weird email that I got. Have you guys seen this thing about being text buddies with Mercedes Mone?
I've seen the price tag.
I don't know if this is real or this is fake.
Look, a lot of people have been doing this. Hey, text me directly. Like, I know that's a thing people are doing.
That's fucking sad. The people that would pay
hold on.
dime.
I don't know if people are charging what Mercedes Mone appears to be charging.
I wouldn't pay a dime to, like, you're not going to talk to her. And here's the thing, for anybody that's not aware.
Hey. My line. That's my line.
Here's the thing. Apparently, I guess, according to mercedesmone.com or something, maybe it is real. I don't know. I was thinking that it was fake for a little bit there.
I'm looking at it right now. It's real.
Absolutely absurd. Fucking people on this planet. I don't understand it. Supposed to be $99.99 a month for you to have a quote unquote legitimate one-on-one private text buddies program thing, where it says exclusive, one-on-one, personal, private, spots are limited to ensure exclusivity. And it's like a little picture that they're using to advertise this thing is some like mock-up text of, "Hi, Mercedes, is Snoop Dogg really your cousin? When did you talk to him last? Hi, he is. I saw him in NYC. We had dinner and talked family. Hi, Mercedes, what are you doing today? I'm with my dog trainer trying to potty train Bugs Bunny. Mercedes, were you really hurt in your match with Momo? 100%. Her kicks bruised my throat and I couldn't speak for 2 days." You're not fucking talking to her. And this parasocial relationship stuff is insane to me. And it's fucking sad. And I just don't understand how people are the way that they are. If you spend $99.99 to talk to a fucking AI chatbot or some fucking intern that she's hired to pretend to be her, the same that they do with these OnlyFans accounts where it's like, oh, I'm gonna get off on the idea that they're rating my my shit, and like, you know what? Go ahead, send the money to her. She deserves to get the money from these fucking losers.
What Tony means to say
is exactly what I said.
Is if you want to chat with us, pay $100 each, and we'll actually talk to you in Discord. That's what he means to say. He's not crapping on the idea. He understands the marketing opportunity.
I am a real boy, and I want you to join the Discord to just have fun chatting. And yeah, I'm really me on there, and I'm not charging you $99.99 a month to pretend to, whatever. But then again, I'm not a hot woman.
$99.99 is insane, bro.
And people are gonna fucking do it because you know why? There are people that paid that stupid amount of money. I forget if it was like $100 or if it was more than that. Remember the thing that happened with Sunny, where Tammy Sitch was like, you can pay to have a picture taken with me in bed, even though you have to be fully clothed and all this stuff. And some fucking losers did that. And I just don't, if you guys have the spare change to spend on these things, fucking donate it to a charity. You shouldn't have it.
Oh, Jesus.
Maybe that's what that person was emailing me about. They're like, I really want to have the money for this or something.
Look, I think that's way too much money. I think she should lower the price. I think, you don't do this to people. Come on.
Get my private number that only my super fans can use. And these people are going to text her the stupidest shit too and think that it's her. They're going to be like, well, first off, you're going to get the people that are going to be like, oh my God, you're my favorite of all time. And then it's going to be like, oh, thank you so much. I love your support. And it'll be like, okay, why'd you spend the money for that? But those are the people that are like sending super chats to like the live feed of WWE on YouTube, where it's like, why are you spending $10 to get the super chat?
Brock Lesnar #1,
right? You're not even doing it to like promote something or whatever. You're doing it to be like, my favorite is Raquel Rodriguez. You spent $5 on that. But you're gonna get those people, and then of course she's gonna get bombarded by people that are gonna be like sending her sexual stuff, and it's like being all creepy on that front. And then the dude that's going to be hired to write these responses, because remember, it is just texting, so it's not like it's going to be like a webcam thing where you can see that it's her. It like some guy's going to have to respond to all these like creepy messages from people being like, tell me your turn-ons and stuff. And way worse things, I'm sure.
Well, I imagine that they'll have caveats in place where it's a case of if somebody does send that stuff, they'll be blocked from the service.
They do actually. I can read it here. It does say, be patient. Responses may be delayed due to schedules and travel. 2, as a fan, you are not allowed to send images or videos, so you're just covering yourself so that you don't get hit with a bunch of dick pics. People will do it anyway. Subscription cancellation. We or you may terminate your subscription at any time. Please refrain from using inappropriate language. And for support, email us at support@DirectText-Access. So I guess that's the service that does this for all these celebrities.
Absolutely insane. The hell's wrong with people? I don't blame her for getting the money for it, though.
Yeah. If people have more money than sense, then she should be taking advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
I just wish those people were watching us instead.
See, the Gallon knows. Like that's what I'm saying. By the way, this direct text access thing says, want to monetize your fan base? Generate new revenue streams with monthly subscription model. I mean, they're telling you that they just It's just another way for the rich to get richer. And Mercedes, you deserve all the money in the world for wrestling. I think you're great, but come on, do we need to fucking drain people of every dollar?
If they're this stupid, then yes.
According to a lot of people these days, yes.
Look, I understand that, but like, just because they're stupid, I don't think that they should be being scammed with the meme coin or anything.
Listen, if you're a guy, like a 40-year-old guy that's got a family to support, and you're spending $100 a month on this, then you deserve everything you get from it.
Okay, I think that Venn diagram has little to no crossover, but I understand your point.
You'd be surprised.
There are people that are like, wasn't there a story that was not that long ago where somebody was like,
thought they were dating Liv Morgan? Was it Liv Morgan?
I mean, there's always those stories, but wasn't there a story about somebody that like bankrupted his whole family because he was sending money to some like OnlyFans girl or something?
I'm sure stories like that.
I'm sure that happens more often.
And it was like, like a news thing. Like I think like he like might have like offed himself or something out of that or like whatever. And it's like this, you need help. Like people need help. You
have to think like these they're the only like demographic of people that has the money to sustainably do this sort of thing. Like you're not going to get like guys or girls fresh out of college doing this stuff unless they're like obviously trust fund babies. But it's more of a case of it. Yeah, you are going to get the 30 to 40, 50-year-old guys that have disposable income that will be doing this shit. So yeah, and then people that will probably be in relationships or have some other thing that they'd be better off spending their money on than receiving random texts from like Sasha Banks' intern. Like,
I think across the board, if you're one of these types of people that you're that lonely and you're that like you have that much going on that you would be pushed in this kind of direction, you're that much of like an incel, whatever it might be, like we really should just legalize prostitution. It would save so many fucking headaches because then people could just go ahead, do that safely, and then you wouldn't have to get into this like creepier mentality. Because if I were Mercedes, I would be like, I don't ever want to actually text any of the people that are texting me on this. Like I wouldn't want to be in the same room as them, and then I would be worried that the next time that there's a signing that somebody would pop up and be like, don't you remember that text that I sent you? I spent $100 to send you a text about my favorite fucking TV shows or whatever, and you said that you whatever, and she'd be like, "Oh, that's great, security." Like,
I mean, she already kind of has those boundaries in place, and this is pre this kind of stuff,
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just not going to stop it. That's just being like a famous woman. That's just the experience of being.
Unfortunately, that's currently
just being a woman in general.
A woman, yeah.
Woman.
Well, yeah, but like particularly like a woman in the public eye.
Yeah,
as well,
it upgrades it,
especially in wrestling as well, considering just the whole culture surrounding that as well. So
a woman in general, well-known woman, an attractive, well-known woman who has a lot of money and is in the wrestling sphere. Like she got 5 things working against her on that front.
And I think we haven't even touched on the fact that she is also Star Wars. So like,
that's right.
Oh god, that's even worse. Yeah.
She just got layers and layers and layers of like, oh, I have to be careful.
She's like the queen of the loserverse.
It's like, would you rather date a Twi'lek or a Hutt?
Who would say a Hutt in that circumstance?
Well, they want the justification for themselves. Because the one sending it's going to be the Hutt.
Big people need love too.
Oh, those are the same people that are like the Leia's outfit is like a core memory.
The slave Leia. Like I guess because I watched Star Wars later, but I don't understand. Like people go nuts over this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people like build a whole personality around it. Again, if you're one of these types of people and you're listening to this podcast, I really advise you to like legitimately 100%, not even joking aside, I think you need therapy. And like, please do that because, $99.99 to pretend to text Mercedes. Oh my God. I just can't imagine the insanity. Anyway, Zelina Vega won the United States title.
Well, before we go to Zelina Vega, EJ Nduka has put out a statement He said, "I was never meant to sit. Benches were made for the unsure. I've heard the call. Now it's the time to move. If you think this guy was made to ride the bench, you need to call that 1-800 number because you suffer from mesothelioma, you pencil neck reject." So he doesn't want to sit on the bench, and I don't blame him. I think more wrestlers should just say, "Fuck it, I don't want to sit on the bench." Including someone who was once fired, Zelina Vega, who is now the WWE Women's United States Champion.
That happened, of course, before, after we had done the hot tag, so we're just going back to that. Congrats to her. That's awesome. Big fan of her winning a championship like that.
Yeah, I had a good feeling that she might win, and I'm glad that she did.
Do you both check out that TLC match?
Oh my god, that was fantastic. I thought, like, when you realize that wasn't on Mania, like that hurts almost. Like, that was a great TLC match. And all three teams know exactly what they were doing. I think that should have been on the card for Mania.
Yeah, I haven't checked it out yet because of the show that it's on. But,
if you ever desire, the full match was immediately put on YouTube by WWE.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, so I might check it out at some point. I know we got 5 stars in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, so that's more and more matches get that level nowadays. But I imagine it'll be worth checking out for that reason. So,
at the very least, at one point, Montez Ford uses somebody's prosthetic leg in the match.
So, I did see that. I did see the a clip online of that. So
I saw it from his perspective, from the fans' perspective on TikTok, and it's so funny because he's like, "Use my leg."
I did see that Johnny Gargano posted that it was a TLC match, not a TLC and prosthetic leg match, so they should have been disqualified.
Give him the belt, some kind of belt.
Put it right back on him.
Yeah. So, I mean, SmackDown had some other things going on and all. Obviously, like, once it reaches a week later, it's kind of not even worth talking about some of the topics because it's already kind of ran through the system. But that was a big thing, of course, for those 2 title matches. And, Zelina Vega is now the Women's United States Champion. And the setup for tonight's SmackDown is really bare bones. It's just, hey, Randy Orton's going to be there and Aleister Black's going to go up against The Miz, which, of course, last week we saw Aleister Black kick The Miz. Fraction,
no, we didn't.
Yeah, true. We didn't quite see that. We saw an attempt at it.
We saw him. We saw him kick him in the in the elbow or something like that.
Did he miss by a mile?
Oh, it was bad. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I don't know who's at fault for that. Whether it's The Miz got too close or just he just mistimed his kick, but it's very it's not the kind of it wasn't Matt Sydal falls off the top rope doing the shooting star press thing of a debut, but it wasn't the greatest re-debut ever.
I like that they kept the theme song. I think that's the smartest decision they could have made.
Mm-hmm. Some theme songs are like interchangeable and it really doesn't matter. But I mean, look how many times they go back and forth when it comes to Sheamus, and it's like, just do Sheamus's theme. We already know what it is. Just do Lobster Head. And like Aleister Black, if they would have gone with some kind of "I am Aleister Black" or some kind of thing that fucking Def Rebel would do, no, keep his old theme, and people would recognize it and everything. I thought that this was kind of funny. I forgot to add this to my notes, but after winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, Carmelo Hayes was gifted by The Miz a gold chain with Andre's face on it.
That's really dumb.
I thought it was hilariously stupid, and I think that's a funny way to kind of continue that forward because he's not going to carry a trophy, obviously, and then that's at least some kind of a means to be like, maybe they'll keep reminding you that he won that. It's not a belt, can't do that, but I thought it was funny. And R-Truth had a little backstage thing with John Cena where he's still trying to make an argument that John Cena is not, like, he's not a bad guy and everything. So at some point, John Cena needs to beat up R-Truth, and it needs to be one of those like heartbreak moment things for sure.
It's not something I need to waste a month on, but
No,
if Cena would ever have like a one-off on SmackDown, I'd like it to be with R-Truth.
he should. He really should. Most of the other things that were on SmackDown, again, not really need to go back and.
What'd you think about the promo with Cena and Orton?
It was fine.
Where like I enjoyed that they somehow got to the crux of you need to have kids, John. Like
Yeah.
all
And
these years,
Orton being like, what kind of fucking world are we living where I'm the good guy and you're the bad guy?
I like that too. I don't usually like the meta stuff, but I thought that was funny because it works.
Let's see. Go back to Raw on that front. And again, some stuff that we can. This week has been rough when it comes to this. I fell asleep twice during Raw, to the point that I was, sitting next to my wife and I kept like jolting her in surprise because I would do that thing that guys like me do, where it's like you're trying not to fall asleep, so you just sort of like spasm.
Yep.
And it's like, whoa, what's the matter? And it's like, oh, I was almost falling asleep. My brain and my body's like, don't do that. But this week has been a bore for these TV shows. Raw, SmackDown, we haven't seen SmackDown yet, but Raw, NXT, and Dynamite, all three, I either came close to falling asleep with or was like, I wish I was asleep and not watching it. The Sami Zayn stuff, I feel like we really need to talk about it too much. It's just like Sami Zayn said, no, don't support you, Seth, and then got beaten up. Okay, well, the story is going to unfold as time goes on.
Well, the one thing to talk about from that segment is that the crowd were cheering for Braun Breaker to spear him multiple times.
Mm-hmm. They do not want to boo this group.
Well, that's what I want to talk about because that I think is WWE's. They got a huge problem right now. They don't want to boo any of these people, whether it's Cena or whether it's Seth and Breaker, whether it's Trick on NXT. They don't want to boo the people they're trying to get them to boo.
Because the heels, again, it's always been a problem with just pretty much every wrestling promotion is that the heels are just so much more interesting personalities than baby faces.
Mm-hmm.
Baby faces are bland, they're Supermans and stuff like that. I've always had a problem with that. I think Superman has always been, he's only ever interesting when he's evil.
When written well, it's hard to say 3 times fast, Superman is very, very interesting, but he is a totally different type of dynamic. He's too powerful. If you put him up against Doomsday, it's just, okay, punch, 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 punch. But when you tell the stories of like Superman being this like beacon of hope, a lot of people are like, oh, there's not enough drama. And,
Yeah, it's there's reasons why like Batman and Spider-Man are considered to be like two of the more popular superheroes from each side because they're quite like, I would say flawed. Well, Batman's case, he's definitely like flawed as a personality, but he's but they're vulnerable as well to a degree, and they've got personality to them. Like Batman's personality is he's so well. It depends on what iteration of Batman you do, but the ones that I most remember, he's kind of this so stoic it's funny, kind of thing where he just like he's just way too serious, and
a great example is there's a comic, couldn't tell you what comic it is off the top of my head, but it's they were like reintroducing who like Wonder Woman is to the group. It's supposed to be like one of the first times that she meets the rest of the Justice League members, and she has the lasso of truth, and it's like say like your real name, and like Flash is like Barry Allen, and Superman's like Clark Kent / Kal-El, and I think it's Hal Jordan is like like instead of Green Lantern, it's like Hal Jordan, and then there's Bruce, and he's just his Batman. It's just like, yeah, he's not Bruce Wayne, he's Batman.
Yeah, I kind of always like go back to I know it's probably been done in multiple iterations, but any like comic strip where he refers to all the ways that he's planned out how to defeat the members of the Justice League.
Yeah, Tower of Babel.
Yeah. But and Spider-Man obviously is like, he's a quirky, either a quirky teenager or like a very like quip heavy like guy. So they've all got personality to them, whereas like the problem with Superman is that if not written particularly well, he can just come across as very bland, I am good guy here to save the day.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually that just becomes a bit tiresome when the villains are doing, bad things, but things which are just a lot more interesting. And this is the problem they have with this group, is that Bron Breakker in particular was getting over as a babyface, because literally all he does is spears people with fantastic camera angles, and everyone loves it when he does it. So you can't really inject it as a heel. And also there's just the problem with Rollins not really being a heel.
Yeah, his character is exactly the same.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. He's still wearing the same ridiculous outfits, which just doesn't help in that as well. And also just the fact that what he did is not realistically heelish, because they all just three guys that absolutely hated each other. Like, you can argue that Heyman was the heel because he turned his back on like Reigns and Punk, and Rollins facilitated that. But it's more of a case of, yeah, but none of those guys were like are really like good guys. Like, as I always come back to the issue, which they're not going to address, but I've always had the issue with it, is that Reigns never apologised for what he did, really. Or Reigns never really got in his comeuppance beyond. After the Cody Rhodes thing, it wasn't a journey for him to turn babyface. He just came back and was a babyface.
But he said yeet.
Yeah.
And Punk's just, Punk's Punk. He's just like, he'll switch and turn with like whoever he's going up against. He was the most like babyface of the entire collective in that match. But yes, and then they've just made the group too interesting, and Heyman's associated with that helps as well. And so you're going to run into problems where, especially with Zayn, who is still one of the best babyfaces WWE has and has had like a very good run of things for the last few years. It's just a problem. I think his one in particular is just the case they haven't done anything with him for the last like 6 months or so. Nothing super prominent beyond like the mini feud he had with Kevin Owens. And so they've kind of lost a bit of momentum with his, push towards top. Like, now they're just bringing up, I'm going to be a world champion one day. It's like, okay, that was something that you were talking about like a year ago, and didn't really make any progress towards it in the year prior, so why should we believe you now?
And also, like, okay, you're not going to win the title right now because the title's not Jey Uso. It's not even like Seth is the champion, so why are you talking about the world title?
The fact that they had him do that weird yeet segment last week, which was just straight up weird, where he just kept staring at Jey, and that he mentioned it with Rollins twice, I think there's a good chance Sami Zayn is winning a world championship by WrestleMania 42, if not beforehand.
I know that he's already jumped straight to the top of a lot of people's lists from Mr. Money in the Bank.
Seems like an odd way for him to get that.
Yeah. It's not my pick. I definitely wouldn't put it on him. Unless he were to turn heel. Now, if he were to turn heel, cash in, beat Jey, then that would be interesting.
But then that turns... The only way... Well, you can get away with that if you have him just say, all right, fuck it. I wanted to be a good guy. You people booed me. It's like McFoley 98, where he's just like, I was laying in the ring beaten down by DX and you chanted for Austin. So fuck you. Like that. You can get away with that.
Well, that had happened. Jey Uso is going to feud with Logan Paul, it seems. So I get it on paper, but at the same time, I don't really want to see that.
People really bothered by that, and I'm like, let him get it out of the way. It's more of a chance that fucking Logan Paul's going to lose, and then you get it out of the way. Like,
well, there's the argument that you don't have to do it. You say like, yeah, the way like it was an absolute necessity they had to go in this direction. It's like,
well, I was thinking that he might be the person who beats Jey Uso, like before the Rollins stuff popped up and all that.
I mean, I kind of think that like the issue I have with this one is that like if Gunther couldn't get a really good match out of Jey Uso, then you're gonna struggle with as talented as Logan Paul is. He's not a seasoned wrestler. Like all of his best matches have been against people who are really good at wrestling, and Jey is in the fine average category. So I don't imagine this is going to be a particularly show-stopping match. as opposed to the obvious instant classic of Pat McAfee versus Gunther, that's going to be happening also on that show.
Yeah, this card is, I'm not feeling it in a lot of ways. I don't understand the philosophy behind, listen, we're going to have Gunther lose the Intercontinental title, but it's fine. He'll have the world title. And we're not going to do too much with him with the world title, but that's fine. He's going to hold it until WrestleMania. I'll have him drop it to Jey Uso. That's fine, though. He'll just tap out. That's fine, though. We'll have him fight Pat McAfee afterward.
Wasn't Pat McAfee's last match when he got kicked in the balls by Vince McMahon?
Think so.
Shut up. That never happened. That's what they would tell you. So I think that's the attitude they want you to have.
It's like this match is like they've got what? So there's 4 matches announced, 8 wrestlers. 2 of them aren't wrestlers. Realistically, they're more celebrities than wrestlers.
I don't know. I feel like they're just throwing shit out there. They're like, this is the Cena Orton show. Shut the fuck up. That's the attitude they have here. This is the Cena Orton show. Shut the fuck up.
We have no time to build it, and we've got too many other pay-per-views because it's like rapid fire. The next
if you don't like it, we've
events.
got 2 weeks later, you got Saturday Night's Main Event, which will also have a Cena match. You know, shut up.
And we've got like Money in the Bank is right around the corner. It's
Well, why the fuck did they do WrestleMania like a month later almost than they normally would?
Yeah. Well, we got Saturday Night's Main Event's May 24th. Technically, we got Battleground on the 25th, whatever. But then we've got June 7th is Worlds Collide already. And it's like, what's happening there, you know? I highly doubt that Rey Mysterio is going to be able to wrestle in there. I'm sure that was a plan. But June 7th is also Money in the Bank. And then supposedly there's that Evolution show on July 5th. And then July 12th is Saturday Night's Main Event. And August 2nd and 3rd is SummerSlam. August 31st is Clash in Paris. That's not even counting some kind of an NXT show, of course, that goes in between there. But like over the course of the most likely Heat Wave, could be the Great American Bash. It's just going to be this like within, you know, next week we're going to do our Backlash predictions. It's going to be Backlash. Then it's going to be 2 weeks after that is Saturday Night's Main Event. And then 2 weeks after that is, the week after that, I believe, is, no, it is 2 weeks. So it's a 2 week turnaround between Backlash, Saturday Night's Main Event, and then Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. When the hell are they going to shove the draft in here?
Maybe there is no draft.
Maybe they're just going to have more like transfer window type stuff or something. I don't know. But they're building something, even if it's something that doesn't seem particularly most amazing. And we know that Becky Lynch now is going to get a chance for the Intercontinental title in the women's division. They haven't said that that's at Backlash. Could be. But it's also the fact that they didn't say that it was at that most likely means that it's going to happen on Raw instead. So prep that. Becky Lynch is the new Women's Intercontinental Champion post up. War Raiders beat JD McDonough and Finn Balor. A little bit of help from Penta. And Stephanie McCurr popped up again. They have this whole thing with Stephanie McCurr and Julia and Roxanne are all kind of going back and forth between Raw and and NXT. So we'll see what happens there as far as any kind of draft things or non-draft things or whatever. Karen Cross still popped up for a second to just be like teasing that he'll do something even though he didn't really do anything. Speaking of NXT on the like Vakur and all that front, we've got Jordan Grace and Julia next week for number one contender to figure out who fights Stephanie McCurr at the Battleground pay-per-view. And we also have a 25-man battle royal. Now, in typical fashion with WWE, they announce something, they immediately say something that changes something about that, and then they also contradict it while they're saying it. So it's a 25-man battle royal. And they have specifically said that it is going to include talent from LFG and from Evolve and from TNA and from NXT. And then they put a graphic up that has, I believe, more than 25 people. Although it could be, let me double check to see if it's slightly off with my numbers. I did have the number thing before, but now I seem to have lost what it was. Yeah, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Somewhere around there. I'm not going to count it all. Point being, they showed people that already aren't on the graphic. And then they showed people in the graphic that weren't mentioned. So if they stick to the graphic, this would be Charlie Dempsey, Tavion Heights, Miles Bourne, who had said, I want to get in there. Lexus King, Wesley, Tyreek Igwe, Tyson DuPont, Eddie Thorpe, Shiloh Hill, Chris Island, Javon Evans, Ridge Holland, Sean Spears, Brooks Jensen, Nico Vance, both members of Swipe Right, Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes, Timothy Thatcher, Ethan Page, Super Sean Legacy, Josh Briggs, Yoshiki Inamura, and Trick Williams. Now, technically, that does count Evolve people with Swipe Right, Timothy Thatcher. I guess technically Tyreek and Tyson count because they were on Evolve, but sure, whatever. It does count LFG people with Shiloh Hill and Chris Island, although they showed Shiloh Hill, Anthony Luke, and Jasper Troy. So why aren't Anthony Luke and Jasper Troy in this image? Not a single TNA person in this image. But that could mean almost anything. The winner is going to fight Obafemi at Battleground. And the whole thing was announced as the means for Trick to, like, you have to beat these 25 people to get that title match. I'm assuming that that means that Trick is going to win this, but I mean, it could go in another direction.
Joe Hendry can literally just win the Battle Royal.
It could be.
Literally just enter. He could be the last guy in, eliminate Trick at the end. Joe Hendry wins.
Could be the case.
They could also just say, "Hey, Dolph, I know you're kind of busy, but you work at TNA, and we need you to do the Dolph thing where you lose to a guy, and he can win." Like,
you could throw in somebody like a Moose. You know,
I don't want to see that again. You saw that already.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if they want to, they could put anybody from TNA in there, and then they just most likely won't win. And I mean, realistically, when you look at this list, it's like, yeah, of course, it's not going to be Rich Holland. It's not going to be Timothy Thatcher. It's not going to be Lexus King. It's not going to be Charlie Dempsey. It's like, yeah, it's down to.
I would like to be Charlie Dempsey.
Kind of fun, but the a Tavion Heights isn't going to win more so than an Ethan Page, and an Ethan Page isn't going to win as much as a Trick Williams will. I'm putting it out there. I think it's Trick, and it's just the obvious choice is just the way that they go. But yeah, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think it's Joe Hendry. I already said my reasons for that. I think they're setting that up, and it's a way to continue this crossover that's clearly going to lead to Trick versus Joe in the main event of TNA Slammiversary.
Is that their next event?
That's their next major pay-per-view.
What's their next event?
Under Siege.
And that's just like a TNA Plus.
Yeah, where Trick Williams,
special.
by the way, will be working. He'll be teaming with Frankie Kazarian against Joe Hendry and the former Elias, now Elijah.
What's the it's not Walk with Elias, it's in TNA We Walk This Way.
Yeah, but it's also Walk with Elijah. But he's been doing the in TNA We Walk This Way. That's just so he can play a little bit of Walk This Way. Just like he does the Seven Nation Army on the way to the ring, and they go, "Oh, walk with Elijah." His whole thing is, I can kind of play guitar, you know. That's just what he's doing. So clearly, Ezekiel will win the Battle Royal.
Yeah, I forgot about Ezekiel. We did talk about some of the other people that were like, these people are, it's kind of, metaphor doing this kind of tease. And it's like, well, what's going to happen there? Whatever. but they were splitting a lot of people up on main roster talent and on NXT and everything like that. And one of them was Carmen Petrovic is giving the boot to Ashanti the Adonis. That's no longer a story. So that story took a long time to get to the point that they became a couple. And then they pretty quickly were like, yeah, we are not actually invested in them as like a couple. So that was a bust. Seems like there's more on like the family front. They're going to have another confrontation next week. This was a waste of a segment. It was just a bunch of no names that were like ringside. Just, you know, Joey Bag of Donuts is standing over there and gets his ass kicked. Andre Chase, we already mentioned Andre Chase, that whole thing. Yeah, I don't think there was anything else from NXT.
Io Sky had fun, and I had fun watching Io Sky.
I like this whole thing that she's doing where she's like pointing and going crazy.
That's the best thing on WWE TV right now.
People are like, hell yeah, she's excited. It's like, yeah, fun things are fun. Good things are good. AEW, we got Dynamite and a couple matches on there worth checking out. A couple things that are interesting on some story front. We know Hangman Adam Page is in the finals now in the Owen Hart Cup. He's going to face Will Ospreay at Double or Nothing because he beat Kyle Fletcher. So I think we all had been on the Adam Page front of like our prediction on that, which it saws, you know, it freshens things up. If it would have just been Fletcher again, it would have been a good match, of course, but it would have been, well, we've seen Fletcher Ospreay already. So, you know, Page is more interesting. I'm still working under the assumption that Page is not walking away with the win. But there's a chance. There's more of a chance, I think, than if Fletcher would have been in there. Then I would have been like, all right, well, Fletcher's not winning.
Yeah, I think they've set it up so it's like either one could win, and it makes logical sense because they're both baby faces. They'd both be facing Moxley most likely, and so it fits well that they both have reasons to have that match. They've both been set up pretty well. They've both got momentum going in their way right now, so. Yeah, it should be a great match at Double or Nothing, as well as this already being a great match. Like Fletcher's on a fantastic roll at the moment. He's just having great match after great match, so this was no exception. So yeah, I'm interested to see where he goes after this as well. Sure, necessarily. I think maybe TNT Championship could be a good port call for him eventually, when like with Adam Cole currently holding it.
Yeah, I'd love to see him hold that championship. It's amazing how, like, a guy like a Fletcher, you know, a couple years ago, back in listening to this podcast, I was just like, I just don't see it. And then eventually I see enough of his stuff and he changes things up just a little bit and he gets put in the Don Callis family in a different way and like a couple tweaks here and there. And I'm like, all right, not only do I see it, but he's one of the standouts. And he's definitely in like a top priority position. Nick Wayne too, for this matter. Like I was like, all right, well, you know, it's good for this kid getting signed. And then I'm like, this dude's fucking 19 and he's better than 80 something % of the roster. It's like, that's great. And I'm looking forward to see his feuds continue everything too with, he just beat Jay Lethal. It was a whole thing with Christian Cage, like signing him up for that. There's some major talent to keep an eye on in that company for sure.
Like I say, like I know that you were saying like the boring stuff, but I know that's because like you're watching a lot of stuff, and so it does get on top of you. But I as someone who just primarily watched AEW stuff, like this is the best this company has been since probably 2021 in terms of just consistently great television going out week. Like for the last month, it's been some of the best TV they've ever done, I think. I mean, on this one, you had like that all-star 8-man tag at the start of it, where you're just throwing in a load of like great guys in the ring with each other, just having a fun match, a fun party match to start off with. I know Tony's not high on it, but I'm quite enjoying the Hurt Syndicate and MJF stuff.
See, I think it's interesting, but my issue is it's the same thing every week, and that bugs me for everything.
It's been a subtle progression. Because now, at this point, this is when it became very apparent that you're going to get MJF and Bobby Lashley at the pay-per-view. And that'll be how MJF earned his spot into the Hurt syndicate.
See, I wasn't taking it in that direction, actually. That whole thing about, like, you have to hurt somebody to, like, impress him. I was thinking it more of, like, who is MJF going to attack? Is he going to lay out somebody? He's going to, like, cost Adam Page the Owen Hart Cup? Is he going to, put somebody out on the shelf?
See, I took it as that he's going to try and hurt Lashley. To try and prove himself, like, just try and sneak attack him to try and prove that side of things. And then it'll come to said, like, okay, you want your spot in the Hurt Syndicate, then fight me at the pay-per-view. He doesn't. I'd make it quite clear that he doesn't necessarily have to beat Lashley, but he has to fight him and try and earn his respect that way. But yeah, it could be either way. They definitely have left enough wiggle room to it's just a case of he just assaults somebody and beats them down properly to demonstrate that he has the killer instinct that the Hurt Syndicate are looking for. Yeah, and then as I agree that, like, they've done the really good stuff with Nick Wayne. He's just looking like he's going to progress really well, and I like the fact they've left that kind of open-ended about which one, when the eventual split between him and Christian Cage happens, which one of them is going to be the heel, which one's going to be the babyface. Because realistically, based on the way it's been presented, realistically, Wayne should be the babyface. But I think that doesn't fit into what many people expect, which is that eventually Christian will end up teaming with Copeland. It wouldn't really work with them being a heel tag team. But yeah, and then have, like, the good Miyu Yamashita versus Toni Storm eliminator match, and this is where we've had the first real interaction between Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm on TV. So that's almost certainly what the route they're going to take is that Mercedes wins the Owen Hart Cup and challenges for the title at All In, because that's the biggest women's match they could possibly do.
And I think she's winning the championship too.
Oh, she definitely would win the title if that's the match they go. I think that there's still the possibility that they'll try and spread the wealth, because you can do Hayter versus Storm, because there is a history attached to that match, and it would still be a big deal. But then you can also do Mercedes versus Athena for the ROH Women's title, and like throw in it's like a title versus title match, TBS title versus Ring of Honor World title, and then you can have two big women's matches on the card that will be draws.
Yeah, I think Athena has to cost Mercedes the tournament and give her first loss to make this like okay, now we need to fight again and put all the titles on line.
And Mercedes has hinted that, like, said in some interviews recently about, like, she would really like to have the Ring of Honor World title around her waist as well. Not that she could probably fit it around her waist with all the other titles that she's holding right now. But I think there is a possibility that happens. But my kind of head is saying that they're just trying to make this show, because it's All In's their biggest show of the year, that they're going to make it as big as they possibly can, and you can't do a bigger women's match right now in the company than Mercedes versus Toni. So,
listen, for $200, you can hold one of Mercedes' championship belts for her.
And then she pays somebody to be like, "Can you please, like, douse this in the industrial cleaner?" We don't know if Saraya has touched it. Any other stuff from Dynamite you guys really like talking about?
That 8-man tag was like the most fun match I've seen in years. Like, it was like a total. I thought it was going to be a banger, and it turns out that they went in there and they were just like, PWG, go. And then they just did silly spots for like 30 minutes of a lot of comedy spots for 8 dudes who you would think would want to just go out there and go 100 miles an hour. I had fun. And there was a lot of play on the Ricochet is bald, which is crazy that, like, that's his thing now, is I'm bald. And I say that's crazy because he's been bald for the majority of time that most people have seen him on TV. So I think it's funny that it's getting there now.
Yeah, well, they're just making that as part of his heel persona, is that he's self-conscious about that now. But I think that his character work's just been so good over the last couple of months since he turned heel. He's just like they say, he toes the line perfectly between being goofy and like believable in the ring. So yeah, he's been impressing me with his character work. There's not much else to really talk about on the Dynamite front. I think the one other big news story coming out of like AEW is that they've announced this residency that they're going to be taking up at the former ECW arena at the 2300 in Philadelphia. So last year they had that residency in Texas for a short period of time where they hosted some collisions and Ring of Honors, and I assume that was Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view as well, was at that show. And this time they're going to have like a few episodes of Dynamite, a few episodes of Collision, and then again the Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view taking place between August 27th and September 11th. Never forget. And yeah, that's cool. It worked well last time. I think that they had a lot of really good shows during that previous residency and managed to sell them out pretty consistently. So I think it's both financially and based on like the audience appearing, I think that it all kind of fits well for them to approach it that way. They've been doing a lot better with hosting shows in smaller arenas. It feels like the crowd is much more connected. The engagement is much higher, so that's in creating a better atmosphere and product in general. So yeah, and the 2300 is not a big arena anyway, so I think I saw some people put some stats out there. I think the biggest attendance it's ever had is around about 1800, so it's not a big venue by any stretch of imagination, but it does have that historical wrestling connection. NXT did a show there late last year, so yeah, it seems like a good move for them.
How is their biggest attendance not 2,300?
I don't know if they could, yeah, I assume that like I don't know why it's called the 2300 Arena. I assume it's
just the address for the building.
Okay.
It was bland name to go with. Just that's.
I think its biggest
214 Park.
I think its biggest attendance was back in 2000 for a show that was headlined by I can't remember who it was against, but it was a Mike Awesome ECW title match.
Was that the Taz one where he like comes back to beat Mike Awesome?
I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can find the source that I got those other bits of information from. But see if I can pick it up.
Also, it's a shame that just one crazy bingo night wasn't the highest attendance at the ECW arena.
No, the biggest. So the biggest one was Mike Awesome versus Spike Dudley on January 15th, 2000.
That's
That was a big feud for ECW back in the early 2000s, because there was the idea that Spike would because Mike Awesome was like twice the size of Spike Dudley, and just Spike would just their spot was just like he would throw Spike Dudley over the top rope onto tables, just stacked around all over the place or into the crowd, and they had a lot of fun doing it. Apparently, also CCW has run the building 136 times.
It's very interesting to me that it was never officially named the ECW arena, or at least according to Wikipedia, it was Viking Hall for the entire time ECW ran it. Then it was the XPW arena. Then it was just called the Entertainment Center. Then it was the Arena. Then it was the Asylum Arena, and then I think they just settled on 2300.
Right, so they like had that. They've had that arena's been attached to XPW of all things in the past.
I don't even know what XPW is.
XPW was just the first of many ECW offshoots to pop up after it died.
It was semi wrestling, semi porn, essentially, almost. Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
But we had the inflection of the horse from Ren and Stimpy.
No, sir, I didn't like it. Well, that's my list of hot tags. Obviously, we have SmackDown tonight. If anything big and important happens, you will find some kind of mention of it somewhere. Maybe it's just on the Discord, And people are just like, whoa, immediate reaction there. Maybe we do a podcast. Maybe I write up an article. Maybe I post something on the Ring Report or your wrestling news or Smark Moment or whatever it might be. Maybe I open up my window and just shout out to the people that are below me and just go like, that's what happened. Whatever it might be. Plenty of people do it, shouting around. I could be one of those crazy New Yorkers, right? If you want to make sure I am not completely losing my mind, hustle a spare change our way, and we will not pretend to be Mercedes Mone, but we will be greatly appreciative of any kind of thing that you do, whether it's supporting the Patreon or the YouTube channel membership or picking up merch or just sending something through the thanks button or whatever it might be. And of course, make sure that you are following all the different platforms that you can find at amangotree.com, whether it's Fanboys Anonymous or my Letterboxd or the other social media accounts. All that stuff is there. Follow me on those different avenues, and then follow Robin Callum too.
Yep, follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. Check out my work on Fightful.com, and check out what we've got going on with the Fantasy League that just started up.
Yep, the Fantasy League kicked off with the draft earlier this week. Check out that video if you haven't already to see who we've filled our rosters with. And the page on that will be up on the Smark website over the weekend. You can check that out at www.fantasyleague.com and just find the most recent one to see what the rules are if you want to put together your own fantasy league with your friends. And just see how our teams are doing and follow that along to find out how well we're doing. Also at Smark Moment, you can also check out the power rankings, my week-to-week contribution to the website, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And then you can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Wigmeister14.
And that's going to do us in for this week. But of course, we are going to roll along next week around with the Backlash predictions. And of course, another round of the hot tags. And then the post show immediately following WWE Backlash 2025. Doesn't feel like it should be next week, but it is. So that's going to happen next weekend. And at least for now, that's going to do us in. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. Leave comments. Thank you for that. And adios. This has been another Smark Out moment. And we're being counted out.